really encouraging for us when we see the connection that's happening between our younger generation and the tribal community. And there's no better expression of that when we actually have the opportunity to hire one of those individuals. And so our next speaker is Mr. Andrew Strack. He's recently graduated from here at Miami University, and he's now working as the media specialist for the Myaamia project, and he's going to share some of his fancy media work with you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Daryl. Hope you've been enjoying the presentations thus far. I'm the last one before lunch, so I'll try and get through it quickly so we can all get to eat. Like Daryl said, I am the media specialist for the Myaamia project. I'm not too far from where the students were. This a little bit. I'm not too far from where those students were sitting there just before I spoke. I graduated in May 2007, but I'll give you a little bit of background on how I got where I am today. I started at Miami University in fall 2003 as a computer science major, and after a semester of that, quickly realized that that was not my calling, and switched to mass communication, which focuses on video production, editing, publishing, all facets of that idea. And as they were telling you before, all tribal students have to take classes here at Miami with Daryl, and as a part of that, an independent study is required during your senior year. And that was the first time I really worked with Daryl specifically using my experience. I began to document the classes he was teaching, so we would have those for future use and kind of compare what he's teaching now to what he may be teaching down the line. And also preparing videos for him to use at the various language conferences that he attends throughout the year. And that was wrapping up about a year ago now when he told me that the project would be expanding to include an IT position, and asked if I would be interested in that. And if you had asked me 5 years ago when I started here if I thought I'd be working for the Miami tribe at the end, I would have told you probably not. And to be working here now is an incredible opportunity to serve my community in something that is still kind of striking me for how powerful that is, and it's something that not everybody gets to do. So I've been using my skills to build some websites and continue creating videos to hopefully connect the tribal community that is so geographically widespread and kind of bring us together. And I started that by redoing the Myaamia project website, which is up here on the screen right now. Before, it had been created in 2001, I believe, and by the IT services department here at Miami University, and was kind of difficult to update with projects and things. And so, although it was a good starting point, it really needed some refreshing. So I kind of started from scratch and created the page you see here. And I'll show you the publications page, which has been updated to reflect all of the current projects and the status that they're at, such as the video that's been worked on for the last 3 years. You can see a short description of what that's going to include, which should be released here in April. The Myaamia phrase book, which was completed this past year. And one of the cool things about this is that if you haven't actually had a chance to hold a print version of this document, you can click on the image here and get a PDF preview of what that document actually is. It's the same document that we actually printed the book from. And so people can kind of get an idea of what they can expect to learn from these kind of things. And it's the same for the Myaamia dictionary. I imagine most of you have probably seen this already, but it contains the same type of thing to really allow maybe tribal members that haven't made the visit to Oklahoma or haven't made the visit here to understand what kind of work is being done throughout the community. And again, it's kind of the front of the dictionary, and then you scroll down a little further and it will show some of the terms. And all of these publications are available through the Miami Tribal Office in Oklahoma, and the contact information is listed there at the top. Moving on to the research part of the page. Again, the statuses that had kind of fallen by the wayside have now been updated. You can see who's been working on these projects, and again, you can click on the images here. For instance, this is Mike Anella's abstract for his dissertation, which was published last year. And you can click and view that in the table of contents, and hopefully soon, with his permission, we'll be able to host that so people can read what he studied while he was here, which was Miami ethnobotany. And you can scroll down and also see the work of the IES program here and the Department of Geology and the work they did to create this map of Miami homelands. And again, just kind of get a closer look and hopefully give community members a better understanding of the work that goes on here. You can also, one thing, we want to be as transparent as possible and be easy to contact. So the Contact Us page is up here with all the information for the Myaamia Project Office. And you can email myself, Daryl, Amy, our administrative assistant, and then also Dr. David Costa, who is not actually in our office, but is an important part of the work we do. There's also the links page, but I'll come back to that in just a moment, to first talk about kind of the video documentation we've been doing. The foundation of Daryl and David's linguistic work is really documentation that was done hundreds of years ago, and without that we would kind of be in a tough place right now. And having gone to conferences hosted by the Forest County, Potawatomi, the Mashantucket Pequots, and a conference at IUPUI, it's very clear that documenting the work that is going on now is just as important. And so we are able to have two high-quality video cameras, one here at Miami University and the other down at the Cultural Preservation Office in Oklahoma, to make sure that important events like this one, for instance, are being recorded. So if people can't attend them, we have a video record of that event. I've got an example of some classroom footage here that I've taken throughout this year, and in it you'll see some tribal students discussing words for the Mars rover, which Tim McCoy discussed earlier, and that's what he ended up using. And then some students learning the language, and a video conference we did with Lance Theobald, who was studying in New Zealand last year. We joined him, Josh Sutterfield and Julie Olds from Miami, Oklahoma, and also Wes Leonard from California. With the class, we were able to bring those 4 people together with the 20 tribal students here, which is something that has never been done before for us, and really be able to discuss what Lance was experiencing in New Zealand while he was still there, and it was still very fresh in his mind. And then, let's see. Yeah, so let's bring that up real quick.
Oh, dang, and it's a bug too. And.
Alright, I know this is a word for ant. One of them was, we called it the sun goose.
Sun goose? Because of the long neck?
We're shishin chicken. We're shishin.
New Zealand government, like the European government, played, they kind of flipped it to the schools and thought this is bad.
Well, I think we're coming to an end. I want to, first of all, say Missionawi, Cheki, thanks to all of you for your input. We'll probably do this again after Lance gets back, once we have some answers to the questions, and we'll just kind of go from there. But this has been a really good start. Lance, Missionawi for the background. They all want a copy? They all want a copy? Anyway.
So that's just kind of a quick example of what can be done with the technology that we're using now. And the camera that we actually have here at the project office shoots in high definition, which kind of gives us some future proofing to know that what we're filming with this camera is of the highest quality you can get right now, just to make sure everything looks as good as it possibly could. And having this camera, along with the updated website, allows us to coordinate projects between Miami University and the Oklahoma office. An example is Gail Delapiana's architecture class traveled to Oklahoma in January to work on a project, to work on an addition for the Drake House there. And when they came back and started working on the designs, they would like some feedback from the Oklahoma office. And previously, this was pretty difficult to accomplish, but with the tools that we have here, I was able to record their presentations in class and upload that to the website so Josh could download them during the same day and look over their presentations, write down some feedback, and email them so they were able to make adjustments to their plan relatively quickly, as well as just preserving their presentations. There's a lot that comes across in video that maybe wouldn't come across just on a blueprint or a design. And having the presenter, do the work or present the work to Josh, I think made a real difference in what he was able to, and how he was able to respond. The new camera has also allowed us to assist Sandy and Yasu Osala, who are working on the video mentioned earlier. As they've compiled over 80 hours of video footage from their work, they've also required some assistance from our office here in getting shots of the campus that obviously they can't fly in from Washington every time they want to maybe interview a tribal student or just get some shots of students walking around campus. So we've been able to help them as well. And so I will be continuing to use the camera along with students like Brent Mowry to document the events like the A1 Zapata summer camps, continuing to document the tribal classes, and any other events that come up during the year. So I will be getting back to the links now, and this is kind of probably the most powerful tool that I've been working on and that I've really been able to sink my teeth into in about the last month is creating an online dictionary for us. And this is the main page that you can see right now. And right now, going to the links page of the project page is the best way to access it because we're still kind of in a testing phase and we haven't gotten a true URL yet. So just make sure to follow it to get there through the links page. The dictionary is running on software called Myaamiaki. And we chose the software for several reasons after comparing a few different packages that some other tribes have used. It's very flexible. It allows us to put in images kind of in line with the text. It can be edited quite quickly, and we can also put in sound and video with relative ease. The tools as an administrator allow me to kind of track the changes that are made to it. So as Daryl, David Costa, myself, and some students that are working on this project, we can all keep an eye on it and make sure the data that gets put in is accurate. The software is free, developed by the open source software community, so that's obviously a huge plus for us. And it is also the same software that the online encyclopedia Wikipedia is running on, which is important for a couple of reasons. Because that project is so popular, Myaamiaki, the platform, is continually developed and is secure. It is also very well documented, so as I run across problems, it's easy to go. It's got a very active user base who have probably already run across the problems that I am and have already solved them, so it's pretty easy to get up and running in that respect. Another issue is portability, and one issue that Daryl has run across is the software he used to create the print dictionary has stopped being supported by the people who made it. So now he has to go through the very intensive process of, and there's some security in using the same software. If Wikipedia were ever to move on to a better platform, there would inevitably be tools developed to move to that better platform. People would obviously not be just copying and pasting into this new thing. And so if that ever happens, we could use those same tools to move on to this better platform. So I'll just start at the main page of the dictionary here. The dictionary, the online dictionary, is really intended to be a supplement to what people already know about the language. It's not really meant for a pure beginner. You really need some understanding of proper use and grammar of the language. To assist in that, though, we have put up some documents like this pronunciation guide and a person marking guide that you can view. And again, you probably need some experience to really understand what these documents are saying, but it can give you a hand if you don't have a speaker on hand. So the dictionary is listed primarily in English, and so if we just earlier this week, for instance, one of the problems I was coming across with is that the search box couldn't find words that were less than 4 characters. So words like cat or dog couldn't be sorted by the dictionary. But again, using that open source resource, I was able to find below the search box, and as well as if we start typing in a longer word like eating that may have several ideas in it, you can see the results begin to appear below the search box, and so you can just click on one of those and it'll take you to the listing. And I'll give you an example of, let's say, turtle. And you can just click on that and it'll take you to a listing, and you can see the picture there of the animal. We have the Latin designation up in the top for a species like this, just to make it clear. Excuse me. And then also the Myaamia here in bold with the linguistic notation there in between. And then also this media player. And that is really one of the big things about using this, is that we're able to put sound files in line with the text that you don't have to download to your computer and use another player, because that often gets real clunky and people just won't do it. So to make it as easy as possible, we just put the player in line, so you can just click the play button and hear the speaker saying the word. And I mean that's subtle, but I think that is really critical to learning the language. So yeah, we're really hoping this kind of takes off. And then so obviously the noun listings are pretty basic. So if we go to a verb, we can kind of stretch the legs of the software a little bit. And again, the results appear below. And if as you go on, if the result you're looking for doesn't appear below here, you can still hit enter or hit go, and it will search much like a regular search engine. Here, let me show you that again. This is what would most likely appear if it doesn't find it right away for you. But we'll take you to the eating listing, and here you'll see we've kind of separated the main ideas of eating there at the top, and then the related terms that maybe are a little more specific than just the general idea of eating. And so if we go to we sin it, again it has the linguistic notation and then what it means in English as well. You can see it's much more detailed than the nouns were. We've added the person markings to each of the words, which is something that's a little different that's in the print dictionary. The print dictionary, you need to know the person markings that go on the end of the words, which again, for a beginner speaker, might be a little difficult. So we've done all that for you, as well as added commands and some example sentences. I'll play a sound file here for you for We Sin It.
We sin on it.
We sin on it.
We sin on it. We sin on it.
And the voices you hear there are Daryl and Karen Baldwin, and then their 2 youngest children, Emma and Elliot. And again, that's something that's a little subtle but very important for children that are learning the language to hear a voice of their peer and not necessarily always learn the language from a voice of authority like a parent or a teacher. I think it's really easier for children and other learners to identify with a voice that sounds the same as theirs. And again, the rest of the examples are much the same. For instance, the command here is again,
We sin low.
We sin low.
So you get that idea. And as you can imagine, it's pretty work intensive. It takes a little while to get together an entire family to record this kind of thing. So we're hoping as it gets rolling that it happens pretty quickly. And finally, the comments section you see there at the bottom. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the idea of the wiki, but in its true form, anyone should be able to edit a wiki. So it's constantly being updated by its community. However, we really want to make sure that the information that's listed here is accurate because it's going to be used as a reference tool for people that are learning. So we're restricting editing to only administrators. However, if people do have questions, you can go to this community portal link and you can post questions here that myself or anyone else or any other administrator can answer. And for instance, if I log in with my account, and if I had a question as a basic learner, you just hit edit and punch in a question here at the top, much like a word processor. So I have a question. And as I said before, and you hit save page, as an administrator, I can track all the changes, and so when something like that pops up, I'm immediately notified and can go in and answer the question, much like you see already. I put in some examples there. Yeah, that's the basic idea of the online dictionary. I'm really hoping that people are excited about this and gets a lot of views. So, the last thing I'd like to talk about is something that we're working on with the university, and that is a Capstone Class for the spring of 2009. The Myaamia project is working with Dr. Bob Vogel and Dr. Glenn Platt of the Communication and IMS programs, respectively, to create a piece of software that would be used in-home by families to integrate language and culture more into the home. Down to what your home looks like, your parents, number of siblings. It's going to be very applicable to what a child is experiencing. And will contain activities showing how the language and culture is relevant today. And parents will also play a critical role in this. So there will also be print documents that accompany this, because we don't want the language to kind of get locked into the computer. That's important with the dictionary too, is that we don't use Myaamia just at the computer, and when you step away, you forget it or don't use it. That's obviously not the purpose. So yeah, getting the kids off the computer and using it in the home and outside and in their lives is going to be an important part of this. So we're currently recruiting students for this class next year to design and publish this program. So hopefully in about a year, that will be coming to a close. And then we'll begin, or we are interested in finding some tribal families that fit that description with some children. So after it's done, finally published, we can put it into a few homes and kind of test it and get some feedback and understand how this type of tool can really help spread information and kind of bring our community closer together. So I hope I've given you a good idea of how this type of technology can be used in such a great way to bring together a tribe that is so geographically widespread and keep bringing us closer together, because that's really what this is all about. And I'm glad to take any questions.
I have a couple of technical questions.
Okay.
Does it work across platforms?
As in any browser can use it?
Any PC or Mac?
Yes. This is just a website. Any Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, any one of those should be able to take full advantage of the online dictionary.
I'll ask you a couple other questions later.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, sorry.
You mentioned that you attended the Forest Bands Conference and National Pequot Conference. I'm curious if you could sort of maybe go into a little more detail about your own personal experiences there, maybe meeting other young people from other tribes who are working on similar things, and maybe what you learned from that experience.
Yeah. Particularly at the Forest Band Conference is where I met some people that are very close to my age and doing similar work. And it was kind of, it gave me some mental reinforcement to know that there are other people in my position, because right now and so there is a bit of a generation gap right there. And to know that other young Native people are doing this type of work in their communities really just makes it a lot easier. And to be able to get contact information with them, and I'll admit that I haven't contacted them nearly as often as I should, but it really just helps me immensely, I guess, to know that other people are doing this type of work and I'm not alone. And events like this, you don't realize it's been 2 years, I think, since you've seen a lot of these people until this conference rolls around and you realize how much you miss those people in your lives. But you know that the work is getting done. It's pretty inspiring. And also just to kind of bring a lot of the work in, to modernize a lot of the work was some of the experience I gained from those other people I met. Because there are dictionaries out there now that are much more static, that are just kind of copied out of like a dictionary, like the print dictionary that exists now, and pasted onto a web page. And to know that there are young people working on modernizing that so their communities can take advantage in similar ways to what I've developed here. It's good to know that that work is getting done.
Yeah, from the time that you came up with the idea of using this kind of a platform for the language, to this point, two related questions. Would you estimate the amount of time that it takes you, like per week or per month, to develop it? And the second related question is, on the upkeep, how much time a week do you spend on upkeep or inputting new data?
I really can't, to address the first one on setting up the program, once I received a little bit of help, technical help that I didn't have, it was pretty easy to get going. I would estimate once I got that help, I had the basic shell up and running in 3 days. Now the data entry is something we haven't got into. Like I said, we've really only been working on this for a few weeks now. But obviously it's going to be very labor intensive. And so I can't really give you a number, I guess, on how many hours have been put into it yet, because I just really has been hired to, once we kind of nail down exactly the formatting of all these listings, that's going to be his job. And he probably puts in 10 to 15 hours a week, and that's what he's going to be doing, is putting in these entries and then working with the Baldwins to make sure their sound recordings get in there as well.
The idea of using a wiki is an intriguing one, and I'm wondering if you have any other ideas about using a wiki for the Myaami tribe that would not only disseminate information but also gather information, because that, as you mentioned, a wiki can be edited by every member, and it's an ongoing document or story that all members of the tribe could participate in. I wonder if you have some ideas about that.
Certainly. Like I said, a wiki isn't a great tool for discussion, I don't think. And hopefully, and that's kind of what that comment section was initially envisioned as being, is discussing how people are using a word or something like that. And it's not, the more I think about it, I don't think it's quite as appropriate. And so hopefully we'll get some type of bulletin board or form software going where that kind of discussion can be had. But you're absolutely right about using a wiki to discuss cultural ideas, or again, they're so easy to update that it would be very easy to keep a community well connected and knowing what's going on in a community. Because Bobby and Daryl and I are in the same suite of offices now, if Daryl comes up with a piece of information that needs to be put on the project website, I can put that online in minutes if necessary and get it out there. And so to have that type of software available to discuss maybe ideas that aren't so rapidly changing, And a wiki format is probably one we will pursue. Nobody else? And I think we have a little time before lunch, so maybe Daryl has a few words to say as well. Thank you.